Welcome, deep divers. Today, we're plunging into a really thought-provoking question, one that I think many of us are wrestling with.
Hmm.
In a world that's, so rapidly embracing artificial intelligence and robotics, what actually remains uniquely human? Yeah, especially within critical fields like medicine.
Yeah, that's the big one. And today we're taking a deep dive into some really profound reflections from Dr. Cisneros. He has a YouTube channel, Dear Cisneros,
Right.
and we're looking specifically at his video called Un robot hará el diagnóstico, pero no entenderá el dolor de la madre que acaba de perder a su hijo. It's quite a title.
It is. A robot will make the diagnosis, but it won't understand the pain of the mother who just lost her son.
Wow, exactly. And he offers this, well, nuanced perspective on the growing role of AI and robotics in medicine. He definitely acknowledges their superiority in certain areas like diagnosis and analysis. That's clear.
Okay, so our mission today, then, is to really explore his core argument.
Yeah.
What seems to be that while tech can excel in many ways, the real essence, the, irreplaceable part of being a physician,
Hmm.
that lies in human connection, empathy,
Hmm.
stuff that AI just can't replicate.
Precisely. And he uses some really compelling historical analogies, even just everyday examples, to show how easily we adapt to things becoming impersonal.
Right, we get used to it.
We do. But he argues that ultimately, in those really critical human situations, the presence, the understanding of another human being, it's absolutely essential, irreplaceable.
Okay. So if you've ever found yourself maybe pondering the future of healthcare or even just, how human connection is changing in our digital world.
Stick with us. This deep dive should give you a much clearer picture.
All right. So Dr. Cisneros, he gets off by mentioning that his previous talks on this actually sparked quite a bit of concern.
Yeah, he says some friends called his scenario catastrophic.
Wow. Catastrophic, like the end of medicine as we know it. That's strong.
It is. So maybe that's the best place to start. What makes these technologies so powerful, medically speaking, that they'd cause that kind of reaction?
Good question.
Well, Dr. Cisneros really highlights how AI and robots are set to significantly assist doctors. They could potentially take on a lot of the daily load, the responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
And what's fascinating is the sheer leap in capability he describes. Robots, for instance. They can guide patients, draw blood, perform exams, but with much better eyes than a human.
Better eyes. How so?
Using things like infrared, ultraviolet cameras, they can see wavelengths we can't.
Ah, okay. So they're literally perceiving more.
Exactly. Detecting subtle tissue changes, maybe inflammation markers, way before the human eye could possibly pick them up.
That's a huge advantage right there.
Absolutely. And they can take incredibly detailed photographs, run a series of internal analyses, all with, amazing speed and precision.
Hmm.
And get this, they can even analyze a patient's vocal patterns.
Their voice.
Yeah. To evaluate for early stages of neurodegenerative disorders. Think Parkinson's, for example, long before a human might notice subtle changes.
Wow. Okay. So this really points to a massive shift, doesn't it?
A dramatic shift. He talks about going from almost 99% human-based medicine to something highly, highly technified.
It sounds incredibly efficient, precise, even, almost
Right.
inevitable. But you mentioned Dr. Cisneros has a counterpoint, a powerful one.
He does, and it's really the core of his whole message.
Okay.
Despite all these tech advancements, he emphasizes that the patient remains at their core a human being.
Right. Still human.
And to really get this, he says, we need to look back, understand the past, to sort of see the future of care.
And he breaks down what a patient actually is
Yeah.
into like 3 different worlds.
Exactly. 3 essential worlds. First, there's the biological one. That's the physical body, the organism, right? With its internal issues, biochemical stuff, neurological problems, infections, systems breaking down.
The physical machine, so to speak.
Sort of. Then second, there's the thinking brain. This is the part that becomes aware something's wrong. It notices the anomalies. And that triggers concern, questions,
Deep worry.
the awareness of the problem. Yes. And third, perhaps most crucially, he says, there's the anguished being. This is the person searching desperately for answers.
Anguished. That's a strong word.
It is, because they're asking these fundamental questions. What do I have? Why me? What does this mean for my life? How do we fix it?
Yeah.
And if we can't fix it, what's going to happen to me? How will I cope? And Dr. Cisneros makes this really sharp point. Even doctors feel the same deep anguish when they become the patient.
That really reframes it. So the AI might handle the biological data.
Perfectly, maybe. But it struggles profoundly with those other two worlds, the thinking, worrying brain, and the anguish being looking for meaning and comfort.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Correct.
Is this where he brings in his idea about the medicine of the ear, that old way of practicing?
Absolutely. The historical method where listening, communication, that was
Yeah.
the primary tool. Dr. Sinaris really stresses that informing the patient is fundamental. It's not optional.
So just ordering a test or meds isn't enough?
Not even close, in his view. If you don't explain the situation, if you don't try to answer those anguished questions, you haven't actually practiced medicine. Period.
Because explaining, educating, that helps the anxiety.
Hugely. It reduces anxiety, often before any physical treatment even starts. That act of explaining is medicine. He calls it informative medicine.
But
Yeah.
you said earlier that doctors today are often just too swamped. They don't have time for this deep listening, this medicine of the ear.
That's the practical reality he acknowledges. Doctors are under immense pressure. They often lack the time for that empathetic connection.
So technology steps in partly out of necessity.
He suggests that, yes, while it might seem, atrocious or cold to us right now, he thinks this practical need, this drive for efficiency, will actually lead us to accept more impersonal interactions in healthcare.
Because we value speed and convenience so much.
Often, yes. It seems our collective craving for efficiency can sometimes trump our desire for that personal connection.
Okay, that leads us perfectly into his next point, right? That humans are creatures of habit. We adapt to almost anything, even things becoming less personal.
Exactly. He gives some great everyday examples, drawing these fascinating parallels from our own lives.
Like the bank teller thing.
Yeah, he reminds us of a time when you'd actually chat with your bank teller. Now, he says people prefer waiting outside in the snow for an ATM.
True. Speed and convenience win.
And that shift, he notes, has actually led to banks closing branches. Then there are telephone operators. Remember needing one to connect a call?
Vaguely. Before my time mostly, but yeah.
Then automatic dialing came in, and people adapted super quickly. Nobody really missed the sweet voices, as he puts it.
And answering machines too, right? Those felt weird at first.
Definitely. He points out that leaving a message instead of having a full chat is totally normal now. In fact, he says, sometimes people prefer the coldness of the machine.
Like for short, direct messages. Avoid the small talk.
Exactly. No social pleasantries needed. Same logic applies to vending machines choosing speed over interaction for a simple drink.
And this pattern holds in healthcare already.
Absolutely. He points out that in many industrialized countries, like the U.S., just trying to speak to a human at a doctor's office is already really hard.
Yeah, you have voicemails, web portals.
Or you talk to teleservice agents, maybe not even in your country, who are basically just human recorders. There's no real personal connection there.
So it seems like this relentless chase for comfort, speed, efficiency, it's pushed us to accept, maybe even prefer, these impersonal interactions.
That's the trend he's highlighting.
Is there a point where we lose something vital? I mean, does he worry about the cost of all this efficiency? This is where, for me, it gets really interesting.
Yes, this is the core.
Because despite how adaptable we are, he argues there are critical times, critical situations, where that human presence, that understanding, it's just irreplaceable.
You've absolutely hit on the crux of his argument. He truly believes the unique, the non-negotiable role of the doctor lies in their capacity for empathy, for genuine human connection.
And he talks about that unspoken kind of oath, right?
Yeah.
Especially in certain cultures.
Yeah, he mentions Latin American culture specifically, where doctors often feel this almost familial, undeniable pull to help, even if it's a distant acquaintance calling, even outside office hours or their specialty.
Like a deep sense of service.
Exactly. Turning someone away, even if it's not their area, it goes against this deep-seated sense of personal obligation. It's more than just a job.
So it's way beyond just the technical knowledge. It's about that human commitment.
Absolutely. And while informing the patient is vital, just telling them to Google it, as he puts it, that's irresponsible.
Because it leads to confusion, more anxiety.
Often, yeah. Misinformation worsening anxiety. A doctor's real role, he argues, is to clarify, to guide, to alleviate that anguish we talked about. And even if it's not their specialty, a doctor can still offer immense comfort. Just by listening, empathizing for a few minutes, offering a realistic but hopeful outlook. That, he says, is the heart of good medicine.
He also uses that really powerful historical example, doesn't he? The WWII medic.
Oh, yeah. That one really lands. He recounts the profound role of the battlefield medic, often with devastating war wounds, technically. There wasn't much they could do. Maybe a tourniquet, morphine.
Limited options.
Their most vital, their truly irreplaceable role was simply presence. Being there.
Just being there.
Yeah. They'd approach the fallen soldier, say something like, "Don't worry, your medic is here. I'm taking care of it. Stay with me. Look into my eyes."
Wow.
They accompanied the soldier, made sure they weren't alone in their suffering or even in death. And many medics died doing just that, providing that final human comfort connection.
That's incredibly powerful. It raises a question, though, for someone focused purely on outcomes or efficiency. Couldn't a machine, maybe designed purely for comfort, give a sense of presence, even if it doesn't feel?
That's a fair question, and Dr. Cisneros tackles it directly. He actually simulated conversations with ChatGPT, playing the role of a sick patient himself.
Oh, interesting. What did he find?
He was genuinely amazed by its knowledge base, how vast it was, its ability to use human-like language, even humor.
So it was convincing on the surface.
Very. But, he says, he just couldn't shake that fundamental feeling. It wasn't another human being. ChatGPT, in his words, doesn't care if he lives or dies.
Oof, yeah.
It just processes information. It's an artificial form of being a doctor, he calls it, but not truly one in the human sense.
So it's like a highly sophisticated tool, but the actual essence, it's missing.
Exactly. He uses this analogy like falling in love with a robot. It might be a clever manipulation of language, a simulation, but it's not real connection.
And the key missing piece is?
Consciousness. He argues that without consciousness, AI simply cannot possess true empathy, or respect, admiration, goodness, love, suffering, pain.
A machine can't understand pain if it's never felt pain?
Precisely. He gives the example of a pediatrician. They understand a child's pain on a much deeper level if they're also a parent, maybe if they've had their own sick child. That shared experience is crucial.
It really does seem to boil down to that shared human experience, that vulnerability.
You've captured it perfectly. He even shares this anecdote, a conversation on an airplane. A passenger said they preferred a human pilot,
Okay.
not because they thought the human was objectively better or safer than an AI pilot could be,
And why?
because the human pilot shared the same fundamental desire to survive, to get home and see their family that night. That shared skin in the game, that mutual vulnerability, it builds trust in a way an algorithm just can't.
Right. The AI has the data, the algorithms.
But it lacks the lived experience, the shared humanity, the connection that provides real comfort and builds genuine trust.
Okay. So given all of this, what's Dr. Cisneros' recommendation for doctors, especially those starting out? It sounds like it's definitely not about rejecting AI.
Not at all. Quite the opposite, actually. His recommendation is clear. Embrace AI. See it as an extraordinary, indispensable tool, not as a threat.
A tool, not a replacement.
Exactly. He envisions that a doctor who fully integrates AI becomes, he calls it a super doctor.
It's a super doctor. How so?
Because AI provides instant access to just vast amounts of data, complex interpretations, possible implications, stuff a human doctor used to have to recall from memory or spend hours researching.
So it frees up the doctor's mental energy, allows them to focus elsewhere.
Absolutely. But, and this is key, the doctor's role remains absolutely crucial as the spokesperson for this information, the translator, the guide.
Because patients want to hear it from a human, their doctor.
Yes, from a trusted human being, not read it off a cold screen at 2 a.m. when they're already anxious. And think about gratitude. AI doesn't feel better when a patient says thank you.
Right. It's just another data point for the algorithm.
But genuine gratitude, that profoundly impacts a human doctor. So the doctor of the future, he says, will be like the director of a cybernetic orchestra.
Like that image.
Leveraging AI for incredible efficiency, yes. But crucially, still being the one who transmits security to the patient, assuring them that another human who understands fear, vulnerability, hope, is ultimately in charge.
That makes me think again about Captain Sully, the Miracle on the Hudson example he used. That wasn't just procedure, was it?
Not at all. That's his prime example of a deeply human decision, overriding pure logic. An algorithm might have calculated returning to the airport as the statistically optimal choice, perhaps.
His Sully landed in the river.
To avoid potential civilian casualties on the ground. A decision driven by human empathy, by that shared skin in the game with everyone on board and below. It wasn't just about the plane.
And he also mentioned something about mistakes, right? How humans tolerate them.
Yeah, he says humans have an incredible tolerance for accepting others' mistakes because we also make them. We understand fallibility because we are fallible.
Like that saying in surgery he mentioned.
The only surgeon who doesn't lose a patient is one who has never operated. That shared understanding of imperfection, that's part of our humanity. Something AI just doesn't have. It doesn't understand a mistake in the same way.
So the future isn't AI replacing doctors.
Yeah.
It's doctors using AI to become even more human, more effective in the ways that truly count.
That's exactly it. Leveraging technology to actually elevate the human connection.
Okay.
Ultimately, he concludes, doctors who are just technocrats,
Repeating
simply repeating algorithms, yeah, they probably will be replaced.
But the others.
But those who infuse their knowledge, amplified by AI, with intuition, personal style, maybe even humor, and most importantly, with genuine empathy, they will always, always be in demand.
Because they're the ones who make the patient feel truly seen, understood, cared for.
Exactly. Truly understood, genuinely cared for, and ultimately safe in the hands of another human being.
Wow. What an incredibly insightful deep dive. It feels complex, but also hopeful, actually, about the future of medicine.
It is hopeful, I think.
Dr. Cisneros makes such a compelling and I think vital case that while AI can massively boost diagnostic power, that irreplaceable human core, empathy, presence, shared vulnerability, that's what will continue to define good medicine.
It really does. And, this deep dive raises a pretty important question for all of us listening right now. As technology offers more and more efficiency, more convenience in, well, every part of our lives,
Yeah.
how do we consciously safeguard and maybe even cultivate those uniquely human qualities, the things machines can't replicate, not just in jobs like medicine, but in our personal interactions, our daily lives, too?
That's a great question. So maybe something for you to reflect on. Where in your own daily life are you perhaps opting for convenience, for impersonality, maybe without even thinking about it? And where do you or could you actively choose to prioritize that real human connection, even if it takes a little more time, a little more effort?
Something to chew on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time, keep digging for knowledge.